Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
That sound means it's time for Cavs in the Break NBA podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. We're live. We are here at Whitey's right outside the old Richfield Coliseum with our P3 Live NBA All-Star Weekend show presented by Press Play Podcast. I am right here with all of my favorite friends. To my left, you guys can't see him listening online, but you see him here. Kenny Roadman Rhoda. Kenny, what's up, man?
How you doing? Happy All-Star Week, right?
Yes.
Cleveland, Ohio, for the third time in the history of the Cavaliers, Cleveland's hosting the All-Star game. So it's going to be a fun week.
Love it, love it. Kenny hosts R&R with Michael Regai, and you can check that out. You guys doing a great job.
Speaking of All-Star Week, go check it out. Our last one we did, Regai and Rhoda podcast. Mark Price was on with us. The only Cavalier not named LeBron James to be named NBA All-First Team. So Mark Price had some great stories about playing just wherever it was, up the road here at the old Richfield Coliseum. So on the Press Play Podcast Network, check out the R&R podcast.
Love it, love it. Also with me to my right, fresh off the plane from California, Jeremy Powell. Jeremy, what's up, my man?
What is up? Back from California, back from the Super Bowl, just in time for the All-Star game.
Yeah.
To do this All-Star panel with a bunch of All-Star podcast / sports guys.
Jeremy is wearing a Super Bowl hat. He's got a Super Bowl polo, a Super Bowl underwear on. So I think he's all good to go, man. He's all good. Can't wait to hear some stories. Also with us, we have Sam Amico. Sam is our Cavs insider. Also, he started Amico Hoops, which is now Hoops Central, right? Hoops Wire.
Hoops Wire.
Hoops
yeah.
Wire.
We've only been doing this for about 5 months.
Yeah, that's all.
Don't give him the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting to be here. You know, I mean, Chase, you and I kind of did the Cavs on the break by ourselves.
It was just us,
for
yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
And now
look
we
at
found
us.
some friends.
We have found some friends finally.
He's an author, too, Sam Amico. We've got books of his, right? The Ultimate Basketball Trivia book. So Sam's big time.
We have some giveaways, and Roadman, these are signed by the Sam Amico.
Wow, and you can actually read it, too.
Yeah,
Very
that'll
nice,
get
Sam.
you somewhere.
Yeah, we got some giveaways to do a little bit later. Sam, good to see you, man.
Great to see you, as always.
Also with us right out the dais, we have one of the newest sports anchors at Fox Channel 8, John Sable. John is 6'4", by the way, in case no one could tell.
John is in the All-Star game this weekend.
You know, they're going to recruit me, and, you know, we'll do some things. So, yeah, it's great to be here. Great to be back. And, yeah, let's talk some Cavs hoops.
One of the things
we do best.
Yeah, one of the things I love about what we do is this is the first time I've actually got to meet Kenny and you, John. So
I know you and I have been talking on the phone and on Zoom for like 9 months.
Yeah, 9
I feel
months.
like we've known each other forever, but we've never actually met because I lived in Florida for so long.
Roadman was a summer of 19.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
and D-Man did Next Man Up.
Yep.
I was in Indiana when that all started. And
Then Columbus. You're still in Columbus now? Or
No,
where are you now?
I was in Columbus then, but I was in Indiana at
that's
the
right.
time
Gotcha.
that was birth. So
Yeah.
It's nice to have us all here together. Like I said, first live show. Shouts to Whitey's here, who just so generous in their hosting. Make sure you guys get food, get some drinks, tip your waiter, and they're just very, very generous. A really, really cool history that actually, John, you and Sam recorded an episode here in November and have a pretty cool story. You want to share a little bit about kind of how we got to hosting the show here and what started that?
Sure. I was in town for Thanksgiving, and Sam and I, Chase and I usually switch off every other week to record this podcast with Sam. And so it was my turn. I was in town for a few days for Thanksgiving. And I thought, you know what, Sam, you live near here in Medina, and my parents, when I was staying with, live over in Hudson. And I thought, well, why don't we go to Whitey's? Because this place, you know, the younger kids don't know how historic this restaurant is. You know, back in the day when the Coliseum, of course, I had to rep my Coliseum t-shirt. When it was right down the road when the Cavs played there, you know, the players would come in here, the coaches would come in here after practice, after games. You know, all the other big name players, Jordan Bird, all those guys would come in here at some point in time.
Is that from that era? It looks a little tight. I mean, I don't know.
You know,
I feel like that might be a little intentional.
well, I did do a push-up contest on the morning show yesterday with my brother. But
And
no.
you're still swole.
So,
It is a schmedium. Very good, yes.
it's actually, I think, from either GV Art or Clee Clothing, one of the two.
Yeah,
I always get
both
those
of
two.
which who have sponsored
Yeah.
our network.
They're
So
good people too. But yeah, so Sam and I were like, hey, we're gonna come here. A lot of Cavs cool memorabilia on the walls. If you guys walk out there in the bar, there's a lot of cool stuff from the old days. And we just sat there, talked Cavs at the time, and man, it was a great conversation. But then afterwards, there is a story that I heard from reading an article years and years ago that I needed to get confirmed. And we got it confirmed from, I believe, John, the owner, came out and told us this. There is a pair of shoes that are nailed to the wall. Sam, do you remember this?
I do. George Karl.
And George Karl, former Cavaliers head coach, would always come in here and eat the chili. And the story goes, one day he came in here and he put his shoes that he was wearing on the bar and said, guess what? I'm not going to be needing these anymore. I got good news and I got bad news. Bad news is the Cavs just fired me. The good news is I just got a job with the Golden State Warriors making more money than I ever made with the Cavs. So I won't be needing these shoes anymore. So John, I think it was his dad who did it at the time, took the shoes, had George Karl sign the shoes, and then stapled or nailed them to the wall in the bar there. And then George that day left, and I think it was snowing out, in his socks to his car and got on a plane for California. And those shoes have been on the wall ever since.
Wow. That's great.
Well, and I remember one story, gosh, it would have been 1993, and Jeff Phelps, who I co-hosted Cavs in the Paint with from 2014 to 2018. We were friends back then. But we walked in, and the Cavs had just moved on from Lenny Wilkens at that time as coach. And Jeff and I just came here out of the blue to eat. Let's go to Whitey's. And sure enough, we walk in. It was probably 8 o'clock at night, a couple of days after Lenny Wilkens had been let go. And Wayne Embry, then the general manager of the Cavs, was sitting in here with Mike Fratello. Now, this was, of course, the days before Twitter, when I would have immediately tweeted this out. Mike Fratello is the next coach of the Cavs, sources say.
Right.
sources.
But, so within a couple days after that, Mike Fratello did become coach of the Cavs.
Amazing.
So it was pretty cool.
And it's weird because Lenny Wilkens then left to coach Fratello's old team, the Hawks.
the
So
Hawks,
those two coaches flip-flopped
Wow.
right away.
Yeah, Roadman, do you have any great Whitey's memories?
Well, it was one of those things from back in the day. When Ron Harper, and Craig Elo, were my guards playing for the Cavaliers.
Hey, can we share? Can you share? Have you dropped that episode yet?
The episode's dropping next week. I already told the guys, the panel, before we started recording about Craig Elo. My brother and I got Craig Elo on our podcast.
Yeah.
My brother Scott, everybody that knows him, is a morning meteorologist at Fox 8. He and I host a podcast on the network here, Sable Brothers on the Baseline, and we had Craig Elo on, and he reminisced a lot about the area here, Richfield, and I'm going to tease this one thing, and Kenny, you might have heard this story, and Sam, you too, from covering the Cavs, about Brad Daugherty hunting in the Coliseum parking lot.
Wow. Well, it was just one of them things where, me and Briggsy would go out back with our shotguns and, look for some raccoons and some squirrels and whatnot and all, and then we'd fry them up in the locker room and have them for lunch. Daugherty was classic back in the day, man. He was, and they literally did that. It's not like an urban legend or whatever. Yeah. They literally went out and they went hunting.
Well, Craig one day came out of practice, and Daugherty and I think Larry Nance both were in like the tunnel that would go out in the back parking lot, and there was Brad skinning a deer.
It was probably before a playoff game.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Brad Daugherty is the guy who's going to share more great Cavaliers stories than anybody from back in the day, including one where they were in a team meeting, and I won't go into great detail. Just know that Mel Turpin, who was Brad Daugherty's backup center at the time, real big guy, 6'11", had Ron Harper in a headlock during a team meeting because Ron Harper was making fun of him. And I mentioned that to Mark Price, and Mark just shook his head and he said, Brad loves telling that story. And then he said, you know what? Brad tells all kinds of stories that probably the Cavs don't want out there, but that's what makes him so great.
All right. Well, I got a great Whitey's memory.
All right.
One night in the middle of the winter, I gathered some of my friends for a live podcast show. right here, and this is what we're doing. It's great.
Who are your friends?
Yeah,
Yeah, there it
a
is.
handful.
Yep. No, and also, do you guys know this is Jeremy's birthday right now?
What?
Today, right now? Yes, this guy right here.
Happy birthday.
Mr. Big Shot.
Thank you. 41 years old today. My family's all here. They got cake later.
There you go.
Wow.
Excellent.
It's nice
Yeah.
of them to show up for your birthday.
Yeah, Jeremy, thank you for sharing your day with us. Let's talk about the Cavs, because this is Cavs on the break, and we are at the All-Star break. This is Cavs at the break. They were playing incredibly well. They were about a game and a half back at first, and they've dropped the last two games. Let's kind of take note where they're at right now. And let's kind of start here. And Jeremy kind of took my first note pre-show. Are the last two games against the Sixers and the Hawks an indicator of, Sam, I'll start with you, an indicator of what the Cavs are going to expect the second half of the season with a more physical play, probably games that aren't as easy as the first half of the season?
Yeah, sure. I mean, teams are taking them seriously now, so that's something they're going to have to prepare for as a team at least with a younger core. Generally after the All-Star break, veteran teams such as the Heat and the Celtics and the defending champ Milwaukee Bucks and some of those other teams, the Sixers, they're going to ramp it up a little bit, start playing playoff style basketball until they determine what seed they are. And that's going to be new to guys like Darius Garland and Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. That's going to be a whole new world. So, yeah, I mean, that's something they can expect. I wouldn't worry too much about the last two losses. Those are tough games on the road against pretty good teams. I mean, the Hawks were in the Eastern Conference semifinals or finals last year, and the Sixers have Joel Embiid. So, absolutely, that's the kind of stuff that we're going to see more of. And they're really going to have their metal tested now, because they're not everybody's little pleasant surprise anymore. They are a team to be reckoned with as far as their opponents are concerned.
Roadman, does that concern you, what we watched the last two games and how they couldn't win and struggled? I mean, on the road, but are you concerned at all?
A little bit, but not a lot. Here's why. They were projected in Vegas to win 27 and a half games. That was the over and under, right? They're at 35 right now. So this is gravy, right? But we're a little greedy now. You got a taste of it. You want this team, screw the play-in stuff. You want them to be a top 6 team in the playoffs. And they have, I think, what it takes to at least be top 6. I don't think they'll, be top 4 where you have home court advantage. It's going to be tough, okay? They've got Philadelphia 3 times. They've got Brooklyn a couple of times in there, Chicago, and they're young, and this is all new to them. So you're going to see the peaks and valleys with a young team like this because you look at them and you go, oh, they lost Rubio, they lost Sexton, they're without Lowry Markkanen. They brought in a Rondo in a trade, and they just added Karis LeVert. It's going to take time for LeVert to fit in, but I think if they can play 500 basketball the rest of the way, 12-12, that's 47 wins. That's I never would have guessed that in a million years that they would, be over 500 this year and make the playoffs instead of the play-in game. So for me, I'm greedy. All I want is get one of the top 6 seeds, and I think if they can stay healthy, they have enough to at least get into the top 6. But then once you get into the playoffs, and there's some pushing and shoving and the aggressiveness and the physicality that we saw with the Hawks and the Sixers the last couple of games, that's where it's going to be tough for them.
No, I agree. And I think that, I even hear Windhurst talk about it a lot, that no one was really taking them seriously because they hadn't beat anybody with their full team. Because it's been a weird year, right? You've had COVID. You've had a lot of injuries. Well, then guess what? We went down to Charlotte. We beat Charlotte without Garland on the road with all their guys. Then we came back and we beat Milwaukee with Giannis and all these guys. If you listen to that post-game press conference, Giannis was a little bit embarrassed and a little bit surprised. And he said, this isn't the old Cavs anymore. And I think that moment, teams started to take notice. They said, look, you're going to have to give the Cavs your best. They probably got, we get Allen into the All-Star game. We get Garland into the All-Star game. Teams start to notice that. And then, boom, what happens the last two road games? You get their best effort. You got Atlanta's best effort. You got Philadelphia's best effort. Both of those games were physical games. And I think for the rest of the season, you're going to see a similar thing.
Yeah, and I agree. The one thing we got to keep in mind, too, is the fact that we did sneak up on some people, and they're taking notice. And the All-Star game, obviously, is going to be a good showcase for some of these younger players. But you also have to look at the remaining schedule. There are some tough opponents, but you can't overlook the fact that the Cavs do have the 3rd easiest remaining schedule left in the NBA, or in the regular season. I'm not going to say you take that lightly, but that is something that's going to benefit them. What the biggest thing I think you look into this second half is going to be the health of this team. Darius Garland is still nursing a bad back. Whenever he's not in the lineup, I know we have Caris LeVert now, but whenever you don't have Darius Garland in the lineup, the offense in the flow just completely does not work well. That's why you had Ricky Rubio. You can't rely on Rondo like that. I would have liked for them to maybe have picked up a veteran point guard maybe at the deadline, or there's still buyout options. Sam, I know, has a whole list at hoopswire.com of free agent guys. Shameless plug right there for you, Sam. You're welcome.
I was hoping somebody would do that eventually.
After I got the name wrong.
That's why I showed up.
Yeah.
Well, it's not in front of me on my computer to read the things. So I'm probably gonna mess up a lot tonight. It's all right.
But the other thing too, I think the last 2 games that they lost, they were kind of going through the motions a little bit. They were gassed. They were tired.
All-Star break, too, in Cleveland, right?
They're going to have 9
know.
days off. And,
Yep.
here's the other thing. That some of the players actually stayed in Atlanta a few extra days after the game to spend time with family. So they were already looking ahead.
Yep.
And those guys, the Cavs let them do that. And so, they were already looking ahead a little bit. And so I'm not too concerned.
I'll disagree a little bit. I think last night the Cavs did play hard, and I think, I thought Mobley had one of his better games. I thought Garland played well, but we're still having that problem. I talked about it earlier. Beginning of the year, it was Darius Garland's in. Darius Garland builds the league. Darius Garland goes to the bench. Cavs lose lead. Darius Garland comes back in to bring us back. Same thing happened last night. Darius Garland got us out early. Darius Garland got us out in the third quarter. We're hoping that Caris LeVert fixes that. That Caris LeVert is the guy, when we put Garland on the bench, Caris LeVert is the guy that can be the offense to carry the team at that point. So we're still having that problem a little bit, I think. I don't think they looked ahead. I think they were playing hard in that game last night. I think they just got beat.
But I think at times that back-to-back last week in Indiana and Philadelphia, they were gassed and tired. So maybe not – I don't want to say they're going through the motions, but when you're doing a tough road-to-road back-to-back like that against a team that you had to come back 18 points down to beat Indiana, then you got to fly over in the middle of the night to go to Philadelphia and then play a Sixers team that's on the rise again now with probably the MVP and Joel Embiid dropping 40 on them. They came back late in the first half, second half, they just lost it. And I'm talking their energy.
I have my best friend's a season ticket holder for the Hawks, and they haven't played well recently. The Hawks have been struggling. He said they played inspired against us, the best he's seen them play. And I think it was a Trae Young, I'm still the best point guard in the East game against Garland. I think Garland really had an opportunity to continue to add his legacy and his rise in the league. And I think Trae kind of put his foot down and said, no, you still need to kind of go through me to get kind of that title.
I think they sucked on defense. That's what I think.
The defense defense has been fading, and that's where I would be concerned.
Amen. Because what's their identity? They're not an offense. Atlanta wants to run up and down the court. That's how they play. The Cavs are more of a defensive-oriented team, and the last 2 games, 103, 124 points. The first 2 games, they started the season 0-2. They ended the first half of the season, if you will, 0-2 because of their defense. They didn't play good defense, and I think the players hopefully will learn that that's their identity. They have to play defense first and foremost. Defense travels. Your shot always doesn't travel, and that's where they have to get back to the second half of the season.
But wouldn't you credit the lack of consistent defense on, just being tired? Being gassed a little bit, because they're, stats-wise, one of the best defensive teams in the league.
I think the All-Star break, looking ahead, had more to do with, let's just go out there, we'll play, we'll outscore somebody, and get to the All-Star break because it's in Cleveland and we're hosting parties and having a good time. It's just a learning experience for a young team.
Yep.
And I think the days when the Cavs' defense doesn't look as good is when teams are hitting threes, right? Because we're better when we run teams off the line, force them to come inside, because we have 2 elite rim protectors, maybe 2 of the top 5 rim protectors in the league right now. And I think last night we give them a lot of open looks from the outside. Atlanta hit the open looks from the outside, and that's when we get into the problems on defense.
All right, so we're at the break. I want to spend a few moments. What are some of your favorite first half moments from this team that has surprised the entire league, surprised us? I know what you're going to say. I guarantee you're going to say this. It's the Celtics game. I knew it. Yeah. So maybe if you guys, I'll have Jeremy go first because he already knows what he's going to say. Think about maybe your favorite moment in this first half of the season and kind of share that, kind of like a key moment in this success of the Cavs so far.
Mine is also a personal moment. My wife, I go to all the Cavs games almost. I go to all the Browns games. My wife will never go to a game. So I took her to the Celtics game, and I was like, this team's so fun to watch. They're so good. I'm telling you, it's going to be so exciting. and we get down 18 in the third quarter. So I'm like, all right, Kelly, if they score one more bucket, we will leave. So it's halfway through the third quarter. Cavs are down 18. What happens? We go on an 18-0 run in 5 minutes, led by Jetty, who's been leading a lot of these break comebacks, and the Cavs end up winning the game. So I think that's not only a turning point for the season, but a turning point for me and to get my wife to go back to more games.
It's good stuff.
That's what we call a win-win.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Roadman, what you got?
You know what? It's not a game or a moment. It's the emergence of Darius Garland, because before the season started, NBA.com, they do their annual Q&A with general managers and coaches. And one of the players that the coaches voted on that they expected to have a breakout year was Darius Garland. He was also invited by Greg Popovich and Team USA in the summer to practice against the Olympic team. It wasn't Colin Sexton who was picked, it was Darius Garland. So there's the respect for Garland more so than Colin Sexton. So the hype was there, and for him to come out and have the first half, and I know it's 2/3 of the way into the season already, but it's the All-Star break, so we call it halftime or whatever. For him to live up to those expectations and go 20 points, 8 rebounds, and he's almost in the 40, 50, 90 club, which Mark Price is the only other Cavalier to do that, 40%. 50% from the field, 40 from three-point range, and 90% from the free throw line. He's very close to that. So the emergent.
Bron is in that too.
Oh no, he wasn't. When is the last? LeBron James barely shoots 60% from the free throw line, let alone 90%.
He's not that bad.
Come on now. The other night he lost the game. He missed the play.
90 in the playoffs.
No, he's never sniffed 90% from the free throw line. Never, ever. And he's one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player ever.
Note to self.
Yes.
LeBron.
Yeah. Google it. But the emergence of Garland living up to the expectations, to me, that's what I'm happiest about. And Evan Mobley, Rookie of the Year, front runner, second.
There is some club that LeBron. We'll circle back.
LeBron belongs to a lot of clubs, just not that one.
Yeah. All right. Sam, what are your favorite moments from the season?
Mine would be a big picture thing, too. Would be the reemergence of Kevin Love, who seems to me that he's really enjoying his time in Cleveland more than any other time since he got here. You know, I had been very tough on Love for a while, and I went up to a game in Detroit.
A lot of people,
after writing 3 or 4 things about, like, they just need to get rid of him, but they're not going to be able to. He's an albatross on the roster. This was last season, and I went up and asked him a question kind of in a media scrum in Detroit in the locker room, and he just looks up at me and he smiles. He goes, "You've been kind of tough on me lately." And I said, "You read?" And he said, "Yeah, is that going to change anything?" And I said, "Probably not," but he laughed it off. Yeah. So, you know, I kind of appreciated him after that. Still this summer, kind of would say that on the pod and write it and say, you know, we heard all those things that how badly it went for him at the Olympic trials, or he was actually invited to be on the team and totally blew his opportunity and got cut, even though they had already reserved a roster spot for him. And then you hear, you know, the head of the Olympic basketball team say, yeah, it was a huge mistake inviting him. He's out of shape. And so it just seemed like it was such a lost cause. And now to see him come around the way he has and been just a pro's pro in coming off the bench, I really think he's having a better time than even the 2016 season. You know, a funny story from that year was he was getting dressed before a game and he was all smiles. And this, of course, when LeBron and Kyrie were on the team, and he just looked at me and smiled and he said, "You know, LeBron's always either ticked at me or he's always ticked at Kyrie." And he said, and he alternates weeks, and this week's Kyrie's week. Look at Kyrie. And I looked over at Kyrie, he's getting dressed before a game with a big frown on his face. You know, LeBron's got like his back to him, Sam. Shunning him.
It's like our podcast.
Right,
except you're always mad at me.
Right, I don't have.
It's always my week.
There's no alternative, though. You're the guy I'm always upset with. But just to see the way he's come around and really just put himself in position for Sixth Man of the Year.
Yeah.
When we all just assumed he was done here in Cleveland.
I know that feeling of having LeBron mad at you. I've kind of been in
LeBron is never
situation.
Called out a media member like he has repeatedly called out Kenny Rhoda in press conferences by name.
Yeah.
I remember specifically when we're all standing there and LeBron says,
Was that the 16 finals?
yeah, Kenny, you're always asking negative questions.
Right.
You know,
And the other thing, he said, you only show up when we lose.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I was like, if I knew that ahead of time, I would be retired because I'd be betting on the games on a regular basis if I knew you were going to lose.
Going to the game tonight, whoever's the Cavs are playing, I'm betting on.
But you know, Sam, you just have to shake it off. It's part of what we do, and they have thin skin sometimes, and sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong, but they don't like. He calls them negative questions. We call them tough, fair questions that need to be asked after losses when they're at their moodiest, I guess is the best way to put it.
You know, to piggyback on what Sam was talking about, Kevin Love, I think the biggest thing, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, the reason Sam, or I should say Kevin, but Sam and I have talked about this extensively. The reason why Kevin Love has had this emergence has mostly been because of his relationship with JB Bickerstaff and having that trust with him. You know, those two go way back from their Minnesota days, especially with, you know, his dad, Bernie Bickerstaff, as well, who's an advisor for the Cavaliers. So, you know, having that trust in him has gotten the best out of Kevin Love, because if you put a different coach on this team, you're not going to get that kind of Kevin Love. You're just not, and that cannot be forgotten at all with this. And he's bought into his role. And he's really emerged and will probably and should be the Sixth Man of the Year. Now, to answer your question, my favorite moment.
Hold up, Sam. Hold your mic straight up. You're getting feedback.
There we go.
There, thanks.
It's my muscular leg.
I agree about the emergence of Garland and the reemergence of Love. I think it's Evan Mobley showing what he is capable of being. So many scouts, so many assistant coaches, so many analysts compare him to either a Chris Bosh or a Kevin Durant. The guy, he's got to put some muscle on him at some point. He's got to develop a nice mid-range jumper, which has been there at some times. Got to be consistent. But to see where the Cavs drafted and getting him third overall, and seeing his game, and not being backed down or intimidated, he has taken it, grabbed the game by the horns, so to speak, and has really flourished. That, I think, has been something that a lot of people may not have realized, seeing a rookie like that adapt so well. And in terms of games, I think the Indiana game a few weeks ago when they were down 20 points, they came back on that 19-0 run was just amazing. You know, I thought that was a really cool moment.
The Cavalanche, right?
Yeah, that was your Cavalanche right there. And Love had that great behind-the-back pass to Chetty hitting that three. So I think so far that was a cool game.
Was that the Garland where he was like passed out?
Yes, he didn't play that game, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing, too, to your point about the relationship with Bickerstaff, this cannot be undersold. The relationship of Ricky Rubio and Kevin Love, too. I think the fact that they were on the bench as the second unit playing together to start this season before Rubio got hurt, because they played together in Minnesota. And I think Rubio had a lot to do with making Kevin Love accept that role along with the coaching of Bickerstaff. So that connection back in Minnesota, those three guys, all together, I think that was huge for Kevin Love.
Great point, Kenny, because Ricky Rubio, when he found out he got traded to the Cavs during the Olympics, he was not excited about it. Right. You know, he had to buy in from talking to Kevin Love and talking to JB Bickerstaff, and he did, and unfortunately he got hurt, but you saw what happened, or you saw what he was able to do with this team, and the Cavs wouldn't be where they are right now without him.
And they haven't looked as good since he went down. They've still winning games. Yep. But there was times they were up 30 in the first half 4 or 5 times. The offense was humming. You didn't lose a beat when Garland went to the bench, and they still haven't found a way to kind of replace that offense yet. So, yeah, I think that's definitely an overlooked important factor this season is just Ricky Rubio.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the All-Star Weekend. We're going to talk about Team Braun and all the Cavs and what that's going to look like. We're going to share our all-time starting 5, all-time coach and 6 man. And then we're going to take a few questions from out here. But we got to read some things here. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back. So stick around. Oh, it's very kind, yeah. I want to take a few moments to tell you about one of our sponsors this evening, Mobile Eye Repair. Mobile Eye Repair is committed to mobile device repair and to serving you with quality and value. Their technicians are highly skilled and have years of experience in all types of device repair. Cell phones, iPads, and iPods, and even MacBooks and iMacs. But what really sets Mobile Eye Repair apart is their love for mobile devices and the care they give to yours. Whether it's their quick, quality-friendly service or the honesty and value they bring to every interaction, their customers love them and always leave satisfied, and you will too. Did we mention their technicians are top-notch? They've got the experience, tools, skills, and a desire to help because they love mobile devices. One order with Mobile Eye Repair, and you will see why no other shop is as quick, qualified, or convenient as they are. You can find their shop in Akron and Stowe, or visit them online at mobileeyerepair.com. You can find them on Facebook, facebook.com/mobileeyerepair.ak, and on Instagram at mobile_eye-repair. Thank you to Mobile Eye Repair for partnering with us tonight. Woo! All right, we are back. We have some shouts and some congratulations in order. Shouts to Mrs. Kelly Powell and the cupcakes for Jeremy's birthday.
Yeah, Kelly.
Cupcakes for the whole room.
Cupcake Kelly. That's what we're going to call you from now on.
Thank you
Cupcake
so
Kelly.
much. Delicious. And hey, after I read our wonderful ad from our friends at Mobile Eye Repair, one of our patrons here, you might know him as Moonman, Mr. Steve, said that he has used Mobile Eye Repair 3 times and they've repaired his cell phones 3 different times. He loves them.
Nice.
So check out Mobile Eye Repair. You will not be disappointed. Good stuff. Shouts to Whitey's. Thank you all so much, Whitey's, for hosting us here. Good food, good drinks. It's all delicious. Make sure you guys are generous in your tips.
I got shout-outs. The Johansson family made the journey out here to see us.
Woo!
Always Josh Paloa from Waiting for Next Year. He does the Buckeye post-game show with me.
Heck yeah, what's up?
On Facebook. He's out here, too, supporting us. So we appreciate those guys coming out to see us.
Nice. Sam, anyone here for you?
Just you. The Allens. Mark Allen.
All right.
And Jonathan. Yep.
I got to say this, Mark, if you're going to listen. Mark Allen, look up here for one second.
He's trying to weasel his way into another cupcake.
Really is the reason that Sam Amico is on this network. Because me and Sam met at his 40th birthday party, and then so we talked about doing a podcast. We
so
put
he's
Sam
to blame.
With Chase. So this panel may not be here right now if it wasn't for Mark Allen. So round of applause for Mark Allen.
Mr. John, who you got here, bro?
I got to give a little shout out to my parents, Dick and Jane Sable to my right. They came.
Yeah.
My buddy Will, who I've known since, I don't know, elementary school? Yep. And then his friend Chad, who I just met. So thank you guys for coming out.
Yeah, thank you all for coming out.
I got to say one more thing. There's a rumor that someone on this panel played a game with the Harlem Globetrotters, and we're supposed to ask for him to tell that story real quick. A little birdie told me this.
It's
Yeah. The rumor is true. So I was working in my first TV job in Beckley, West Virginia at the CBS affiliate in 2010. So 11-year anniversary is actually coming up next month. And
of your Globetrotter game?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make sure to write that down.
Yeah.
We'll do a whole pod about this.
Oh, can't wait.
Did we talk about this on the pod? I forget. We might
No.
have. We didn't? All right.
I don't know. I mean, really.
I
know it involves
Did my dad
shorts.
plant this story?
It
Of
involves
course he did.
shorts. That's all I know.
Of course my dad planted this story. All right. Long story short, they travel around, and what they do in some of those smaller markets is they ask some of the local media, hey, do you have a guy in your sports department that could play in this game? We'll give you a jersey, whatever. And so they asked me, and I was like, yeah, of course I'll do
Heck
that.
yeah.
So my mom, my dad, and I think my sister came. They drove down. It was like a 4-hour drive from Cleveland, and they told me, only thing they told me was, okay, so you're going to go in like the 4-minute mark of the first quarter, and we're going to give you the ball, shoot. And you have an opportunity, to score. And then if you miss, we're going to foul you on purpose to put you on the free throw line. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll do it. So the first time I got the ball, shot a 3, I bricked it. So then they fouled me. I went to the free throw line, and I bricked it. And so I'm like, crap, I have to make this second one. I have to score a point. Well, so what had happened is my dad, if you can hear the guy shouting, the crazy guy in the booth. That's my dad. So what I was told was what they do to some of the local TV guys is if you guys watch the Harlem Globetrotters growing up, they like to play pranks. And so they said, they're going to pull your shorts down. they're gonna depants you, and as like a joke. And I'm like, well, they can't do that. Like, that's like there are little kids here.
Yeah.
So they didn't do that, but then I thought about it afterwards. I'm like, they would have to ask me ahead of time if they would probably do that, but they didn't do that. So I was like nervous the whole time. So then I made the second free throw, so I logged the point.
Yep.
And then I didn't play the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I rode the bench the whole time. I still have the jersey. I still have the shorts.
It's because you wouldn't let him pull down your pants.
Well, thank you all for being here.
Sam, this is a family show.
Yeah. My cousin and her husband came, Sonia and Mike, from an hour away. Don't remember. I mean, Youngstown, right? Yeah, I got it. Youngstown. Crazy story about them. Over the summer, my cousin Sonia said, hey, I want you to officiate our wedding, but I'm going to surprise my fiance, and this is going to be a surprise wedding. Can you officiate a surprise wedding? And I was like, sure, why not? And so it was this incredible moment. It was really, really beautiful. Everyone was crying. Mike thought he was just driving kids around for prom, which you did, but we were in this, that place was hot as hell, I'm going to be honest. It was very, very warm. I don't know where we were, but it was beautiful. And that's our story. Very great. So thank you for being here tonight. Thank you, thank you. Well, this is the All-Star Weekend, and LeBron is back on the murals in Cleveland. Darius Garland has a big one that's up downtown. Are you excited to see LeBron play with Josh Allen and Darius Garland? I am.
Josh Allen.
Jared Allen.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is your fault.
No, because I'm going to talk about it for all those years.
Oh, yeah. Jeremy is notorious to like Josh Allen. Well, now I'm
Jared.
super nervous
Jared
about
Allen.
his name.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my
Josh
goodness.
Allen is the guy the Browns should have selected instead of Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast.
Am I the only one who sees that? Right?
I was almost driven off Twitter for this exact.
I mean, come on now. Let's just be. We're calling it like we see it. He's the one they should have taken instead of Baker Mayfield. So there you go. Now that that's out there, the elephant in the room is out there. Now we can move on to Jared Allen.
Hey, Kenny, the truth hurts.
Yeah, it does.
I told you without my screen in front of me, we're going to make a mistake. Jared Allen, LeBron, and Darius Garland. I'm excited to see them play together. John, are you excited to see LeBron kind of test the waters in Cleveland again before he comes back next year?
Sam, how did I know he was going to say that?
Yeah.
We knew it was coming.
Yeah. Well, listen, LeBron wanted Garland in the draft, in the All-Star draft.
They both did.
They both did, but LeBron really wanted him because Darius Garland is a client of Clutch Sports, which is LeBron's firm. So, of course, he wants his guy. Now, is it foreshadowing anything else? Sam will be the first one to tell you, no, it's not happening. But this is going to be fun to see him play.
Am I going to go with the Jared Allen question or if LeBron's coming back?
Are you excited to see them play together?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's, you would get a taste of what LeBron might look like playing next to those guys. That might be kind of neat. But just enjoy it because it's not going to be a long-term thing. So.
And before we go into this whole LeBron
and LeBron's like 117, and when I say 117, I mean like 15 years younger than me. But
he scored 33 last night and rallied the team back to beat the Utah Jazz.
And that's because he had to score 33 because he invites all his friends to come play with him, and now all his friends are like 40 years old, so he's got to carry the team by himself.
Yeah, before we start talking about if he's going to come back, which you and I have been on record by saying it's not going to happen. LeBron leaving has benefited this franchise in so many ways because you wouldn't have gotten Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Isaac Okoro, Colin Sexton. You wouldn't have gotten him, those guys, without him leaving. He had to leave to rebuild this team. Deion Waiters?
He was here, and LeBron made sure to get rid of him. But that's a nice jersey.
And then he came back and won a ring with him in Los Angeles.
Yeah, those of you who are listening to this pod that aren't actually here, Chase is wearing a Deion Waiters jersey.
That's right.
Anyways, LeBron has. You could argue that LeBron did the Cavs a favor by leaving and rebuilding this team at this point in time. Now, of course, we all wanted him to stay, but it just didn't happen. So I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he's coming back.
And I think the honest reason he drafted Darius Garland was exactly what he said afterwards, is to curry favor with people in Cleveland. He's going to draft Darius Garland so that people aren't as mad to him. LeBron's always thinking, a little bit ahead here. And he said that he drafted Darius Garland so he didn't need a bodyguard to come to the game. That was his thought.
I will say this about LeBron. Discussed this on my radio show. Here's the selfless plug, right? Kenny JT Show, Monday through Friday, 1480 a.m. in Canton, Ohio, right? We talked about this today. LeBron is going to be the MVP in the game on Sunday. He's coming back to Cleveland. Kobe Bryant's name is now on the All-Star Game trophy. It's the first year that will be awarded as the Kobe Bryant trophy, so you know how much clout Kobe carries with some players. LeBron wants to be the first one to receive that. He's going to be back home in Cleveland. He's 37 years old. I think he would be the oldest to win the All-Star Game MVP to add to his list of accomplishments. And so I expect him, regardless of who's on the floor, to be out there and to try and lead his team to victory, and in doing so, win the MVP award. So I'm predicting that he will do that. And before any of you think, well, why should I believe you? The final score of the Rams-Bengals game, we predicted on the show 23-20. The Rams take the under, take the Bengals with the points, and the Rams straight up.
Good job by you.
We're on a roll. I will buy you lottery tickets. Anybody that wants them tonight as well?
Plus, we know LeBron's team's going to win because you're not going to the game.
That's right. Yep. Yes. There you go.
You know what list of accomplishments LeBron doesn't have?
What's that?
The 50-40-90 club.
Yes.
I had someone.
See?
Also, Joshua Pritchard, my good friend from college, is with us. He's back in the booth. I'd say he showed me an article at the break that said LeBron is on record saying if he wanted to be in that club, he would be.
Yeah, no chance.
A quote from LeBron. That's what he said in 2013.
He's good at
so
many
that's
things,
what I read.
free throws, never.
Now I know why LeBron thinks you're negative, Kenny.
Yeah, okay. Bet the under. Over under 90% LeBron free throws. Bet the under on that.
But definitely bet the over on the total score on this All-Star game because no one's playing defense.
What is the over under for the All-Star game? I don't
think Vegas
422. I think
Vegas be that.
I don't think Vegas messes with that game. Yeah, but really? Wow.
Really? Is that what that is?
Bet the over.
350.
Over.
All right, so with the All-Star break, the NBA also released a list of their 75 greatest players. They did this 25 years ago. I had a poster in my room growing up. It was great. And so what I wanted to do is kind of with that, I wanted us all really quick because we're going on. This isn't going to be probably as long as our other pod went really long. What pod was that? I don't remember.
It was after the LeVert trade. Yep.
Yeah.
I think we were up till 2 a.m.
It was pretty late, but it was worth it. I want us all to kind of give our all-time starting five and our all-time coach and our sixth man. I was talking with Roadman about what we're going to talk about here, and he's like, what if he did this? And I'm like, I love it. So, Roadman, I want to start with you. Just because I feel like you've been chomping at the bit.
Yeah, this was easy for me. My all-time starting five and sixth man. Magic Johnson's my point guard. Michael Jordan's my shooting guard. LeBron's my small forward. Tim Duncan's my power forward. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is my center. And Kobe Bryant is my sixth man. That was easy. That's it.
Who was your coach?
Anybody want to play me? Let's go. I'll take those six and let's go at it.
I'll take 5 LeBrons.
Yes. Yeah.
Who was your coach?
And my coach, I know he doesn't have as many championships as Red and as Phil. But give me Pat Riley from a coaching and a general manager standpoint, and I'll take Riles as my coach.
These guys obviously need time to think about their teams. My team is very similar to Kenny's. I have Magic, Jordan, LeBron. I put Larry Bird at power forward, even though he was kind of a small forward.
Yep.
And I had Kareem at center. Kind of lean towards Wilt, but I never got to see Wilt play, believe it or not, before my time. But I did see Kareem toward the end of his career. And my sixth man is really based more on the love of the player as opposed to probably the best guy would have been Dr. J. He was my first favorite player.
Sure.
When I noticed on the back of his basketball card that we have the same birthday, and I ran upstairs and told my dad, and from that point on, I was a huge fan. So he would be my sixth man. favorite all-time coach is Lenny Wilkens, but the coach I would pick would be to run the team would be Phil Jackson because and Pat Riley's a good choice too. But you look at Phil Jackson with how he managed both the Bulls and all those huge egos, as well as the Lakers later with Shaq and Kobe. That's my team.
Speaking of birthdays, today is my birthday and Michael Jordan's birthday.
Jordan turned 59 today.
And Jim Brown's birthday today.
Wow.
Jim Brown. How about Jim Brown?
I just have Dr. J and George Washington. What did they ever do?
This is one of the craziest anomalies ever. Jim Brown was born February 17th, 1936. Michael Jordan was born February 17th, 1963.
When were you born?
The best podcast guy on, no, 1981. But no, I just think it's such an anomaly. Isn't that crazy? The best NFL player of all time.
Numerology, right?
Right. If you're Gary the Numbers guy, remember Gary the Numbers guy?
Absolutely.
He'd have a field day. He'd have a field day with this. No, my team, I would go Magic Johnson at the point, Michael Jordan at the 2. I'd go LeBron at the 3. I'd go Larry Bird at the 4. I know he's not really a 4, but I'd go Larry Bird in there. I'd go Shaq as my center. I think Shaq's the most dominant center of all time. I'd go Dr. J as my 6th man. And to coach that team, I would take Chuck Daly. Because I think Chuck Daly, managing personalities, he had to manage some crazy personalities to get those championships. Yeah. I'll take Chuck Daly.
Daddy cool, man. Chuck Daly.
I like the Chuck Daly pick because he gets lost in like the Mount Rushmore of NBA all-time.
Because he doesn't belong in the Mount Rushmore. That's why he gets lost.
He also coached the first Dream Team, right?
He did, yes. The greatest team ever.
So mine kind of mirrors a little bit of Jeremy's. I'll take LeBron. I'll take Magic, Bird. The Shaq thing is interesting because no one in the 90s was as dominant as Shaq. You don't need to be a guard to be dominant in the league. You know, Shaq in this day and age, if it's because his league has now become a guard dominant league, I mean, he would still be really dominant in this league now because it's gone away from the big man, even though the Cavs have kind of adopted that big man role back. I would put Shaq in my all-time starting 5 as well. I would still put Larry Bird in there. I would probably put a mixture of 2 guys as a 6th man. I do like the Tim Duncan because I do think Tim Duncan is the greatest power forward of all time.
Without question.
I mean, you have to go with Tim Duncan. Yeah. I was not around and alive to see Kareem. I was not around and alive to see Dr. J. But I would pick Kareem to be also in that 6-man conversation. But one guy to be an honorable mention would be Oscar Robertson. He is a guy that gets lost in everything. And the only reason why his name pops up now is because LeBron has broke a lot of his records, in his time. And then head coach, I mean, it's got to be Phil Jackson. I think he's a guy that's been able to handle a lot of personalities too. He did it in 2 different. He was with the Bulls, and he's just a guy that really established himself as one of the greatest. And I think you can't go wrong with a Pat Riley or Chuck Daly. Red Auerbach, I wasn't around either, but my gut and my opinion that Phil Jackson is still one of the best ever. And Cavs-wise, Lenny Wilkens is still the greatest Cavs coach of all time.
Yeah, real quick, none of us picked Bill Russell for any of the 6 spots, and he has 11 NBA championships, right? So that, my 6th man, I was Kobe. It's hard for me not to have Kobe on this team, okay? But you've got Michael and LeBron, but it was Bill Russell or Kobe as my 6th man. And Bill Russell, 12 years in the league, he won 11 championships. And he was a player coach, too. So it's kind of hard not to include his career average rebounds, guys, he averaged 22 rebounds a game, not for one season, for his career.
So it's interesting you bring that up, Kenny, because a lot of people will reference Wilt Chamberlain's, his 50-some rebound points.
Again, he averaged 50 points, 25 rebounds for a season.
So, but you got to put that in context.
Yeah.
I mean, you're playing up against guys that aren't that athletic.
It's like you playing basketball with us, John.
Yeah, I'm 6'4", playing a bunch of guys that are under 5'11".
The Lollipop Guild here.
So I feel like a little bit of Wilt's numbers
Jason,
are
Kenny, and I played college basketball, so
Come on,
Chase reminds us every show. I played college basketball.
And you guys
we remind you that you reminded us every show.
So I'm going to have Magic at the point, Jordan at the 2, LeBron at the 3, Duncan at the 4, and Shaq at the 5. I'm going to have Kobe as my 6th man, and Greg Popovich is my coach.
Okay. Pop deserves it.
I feel like has been overlooked as well. I love what he does. Just the consistency, and I think he's a champion. I would have him over Daly. Sorry, man. I know.
Where's Deion Waiters on that?
Well,
team?
I almost went Westbrook, Deion Waiters, Rasheed Wallace. Like, I almost went through the whole list.
Bill Laimbeer is your center.
I almost did. I had it in my brain. But I'm looking at time, and I want to hear from the people that are here. So, any other thoughts on the starting five or the all-time team? We pretty content.
Real quickly is Akeem Olajuwon was vastly underrated as a center. Just great footwork, 7-footer, block shots. And he beat Shaq when Shaq was a young guy, yeah.
I interviewed Shaquille O'Neal like 10 years ago at a charity basketball outing in West Virginia, and I asked him, who were the centers that created the most problems for you? And the two that I remember, he named three. I can't remember the third one. The first one he said was Akeem Olajuwon. He's the greatest. He's the GOAT when it comes to the centers.
He started playing basketball late, too. He didn't play ball all of his life.
Yeah.
And then the other one I think he said was Rick Smits, which surprised me.
He was 7'4".
The
Dunking Dutchman,
yes. Exactly.
Yes.
I can't remember the third one. Now, he's not saying Rick Smits is as good as Akeem Olajuwon. He's not. But he's saying just in terms of guys that gave him fits. But your great point, Akeem Olajuwon, Sam, needs to probably be in there too.
I agree. And Hakeem's a guy, we talk about different eras. Hakeem's a guy who could play in any era. He could play right now.
Right.
He
That's where
he would be fine even in an era where they don't give the ball to the post very often. He's just that kind of talent.
How about this? The second leading scorer in the history of the NBA was not mentioned by any of us.
Jerry West.
No, Karl Malone, the mailman.
Karl Malone was somebody I thought about at power forward, but then I thought he just didn't have that killer instinct that Bird had.
Everyone does something better than him, no matter what it is.
And he doesn't have a championship. He had 2 chances. He ran into who? Michael Jordan both times, but still. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was on a Lakers team that came up short, didn't he?
Yeah.
That was the same team Gary Payton was on.
Chase got something right. I think we should break.
Okay, there we go.
Give a round of applause. Broken clocks right twice a day.
Did you guys see the list of the all-time 75? Is there anybody on that list that you think doesn't belong?
I don't think Dennis Rodman belongs on that list.
Okay.
So I'll go one further. In 97,
I don't know, Sam.
In 97, Kenny, when the All-Star game was here and they named the 50 greatest players, at that time in 97, Shaquille O'Neal should not have been on that list.
Right. Okay. I agreed at that time, too. He should not have been. The only reason, my biggest problem with Rodman is he's a great player. Maybe he's 77, 78, but ahead of guys like Bernard King or Alex English or some of these others.
But is he the best rebounder in the NBA?
The best rebounder ever?
When he played,
he was the best rebounder when he played. He was a top-notch defender, but he could not shoot from a foot from the hoop. He couldn't pass. He couldn't dribble. He was a huge offensive. You were playing 4-on-5 when he was on the floor. Offensively,
Dennis Rodman was basically the 2004 to 2010 version of Ben Wallace. Would we not agree?
You mean the 80s to 90s version?
Correct.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, he was probably a little more. I mean, Dennis Rodman could guard Magic Johnson, do it very well. He was a very versatile defender, could defend the perimeter, defend the post. He was a huge pass. He's a great player, but he is not, to me, on that list only because his offensive game was so severely lacking.
But he didn't have to score, and that's what the Nets are hoping with Ben Simmons. The Nets are hoping that Ben Simmons will give them assists, rebounds, and defense like Rodman did because he doesn't have to score, so that's taking less pressure off Ben Simmons, and they're hoping that that'll help
if you look to Dennis Rodman to score, you were in deep trouble.
For me, Damian Lillard doesn't belong on the list. I'm sorry.
Who?
Damian Lillard.
I would agree.
I'd have to look at the list.
I don't think he's top 75.
Look at it again.
I mean, great. He hits shots from half court
People
and the
think
logo and everything.
when you say this
pass.
guy's not top 75, they think you're saying he stinks.
Right, yeah.
But that's not it. No. It's like maybe you're top 100, but to me, when I saw Bernard King as a little kid in his prime, I was like, that guy, you cannot guard him.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, he's one of the most underrated players, and I didn't like the guy because he'd always beat the Cavs, but he was unstoppable.
Yeah. All right, well, hey, we're going to give away some stuff. All right, we're very grateful for you guys being here. We have a lot of goodies here, and I think here's how I want to...
I would hope everybody here already has a copy of that book.
Sam...
#1 seller.
There you go.
Sam wrote a book called The Ultimate Basketball Trivia Book, 600 Questions for the Superfan, and these are signed by Sam Amico himself. I
And
witnessed
you don't
it.
really have to be a super fan, but you will be when you're done reading.
And so how should we give this stuff away? Just questions from the book?
No,
All right.
Yeah, ask questions from the book. There you go.
Sam, your book is so good, we're giving it away.
Yeah, that's right. They can't give it away.
All right. So what we'll do is if you get these right, let's get a pick of a prize, and we'll see how long your book lasts up here. We have a Baker Mayfield Funko Pop doll. We have a Kenny Lofton. This is super cool. A Kenny Lofton bobblehead that they gave out at, I want to say the Jake. I don't know how old this is. It was, saved from a cellar, and like CELLAR, cellar, that I want to give away here. This is also, I helped someone move and they didn't want this anymore, so I was like, oh, we'll do this again. This is a Cincinnati Reds dual bobblehead doll, Marty and Joe. I don't know.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Looks like that guy over there.
I can assure you Mark's not going to pick my book.
We have Cleveland Browns training camp sunglasses official. We have some brown stickers. And we have, okay.
What are those?
These are stickers promoting Shart.com. Listen, Shart.com is a t-shirt frame.
Okay.
And it's so beautiful. It's shirt art, or Shart for short.
Okay.
Shart. It's actually incredible stuff.
No comment.
I bought one and I loved it so much I bought 5 more. Cleveland is notorious for like a t-shirt culture, and if you're like me and have a ton of Cleveland shirts in the back of your drawer and you don't want to throw them away because they might mean something, get some Shart, Sam.
I'm in.
Get some
I'm
Shart.
in.
Hey, and here's the
I'm
deal.
all about Shart.
Shart.com. If you use promo code CHASE at checkout, you save $5. True story. Shart.com. Well, you're lost because it's awesome stuff. Let me tell you. There's also a couple brown stickers. So, hey, I'm going to ask a
If
question.
my book goes after Shart.com, I promise to never write another.
All right.
Wait, let's get a show of hands. How many people have sharted before? Anybody? Anybody? Show of hands? Huh?
I mean, you're dead.
Anybody? No?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
All right. Sam, how do you want to do this? We'll just ask random questions.
this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Help me out here.
Yeah. Now pick a question and ask it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope you guys don't expect me to know the answer.
No.
Yeah.
If you tell me the question number, I'll turn to the page.
Okay.
So whoever shouts it out first. 62? I thought it was 15.
I answers on
All right. I'm turning there.
62.
I don't know the answer to this, actually.
All right.
And I wrote the question.
Yeah. Very good.
Who holds the record for the highest free throw percentage in their rookie season? And I'll give you some options. Ernie DiGregorio, Mark Price, Rick Barry, or Steph Curry. Who holds the record for the highest free throw percentage in a rookie season? Who said? Who'd we say? Rick Barry is the incorrect answer, I guess.
Fun story. I'm going to be interviewing Rick Barry tomorrow morning.
Oh, good. I've interviewed him before.
He's participating in he's going to be the coach of the Rising Stars.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And
He will be brutally honest.
And he's participating in a 70 and older pickleball tournament in Twinsburg tomorrow.
Wow. We need to go.
All right, so it's not
We're
Rick-
totally in.
It's not Rick Barry.
Sam, you want to come?
Oh, do
I
we
have
have
the
an
answer.
answer yet? We don't have an answer. Do we have a
It
correct
is
answer?
not Mark Price. It's not Steph Curry.
Ernie D. Pick your prize. You're in.
All right.
We have a winner.
It is Ernie
D.
DiGregorio.
DiGregorio.
That's right.
DiGregorio.
Congratulations, man. Come up, help us out to a
Fantastic
prize.
college player who.
All right.
What did he shoot?
All right.
I wonder.
We got to keep it moving here, Sam.
All right.
Okay.
Hey,
You want
I
me to
got
go?
one. I'll give a trivia question.
Okay,
Let's do
Kenny
it.
Rhoda.
Let's do it.
All right. That's the one I would take. 1981 was the year that Cleveland hosted the All-Star game at the Richfield Coliseum, okay? There was one Cavalier player who played in that game, represented the city of Cleveland. He was an injury replacement, and he is Sam Amico's all-time favorite player.
All-time favorite Cavalier.
Cavalier player, okay? Not World B. Free. Larry Nance, bingo, no.
1981 NBA All-Star Game.
That was the 35th anniversary, was it not?
My all-time favorite Cavalier played in that game.
Not Austin Carr. His initials were M and M. Not the singer who performed at halftime, M and M.
There you
Mike
go.
Mitchell
We got a
is
winner,
correct.
Mike Mitchell.
We talked about it before.
Yeah.
I got a good trivia question. There's only
Come on up.
There's only a handful of players ever that have got a quadruple double in a game. One of them is from Akron, Ohio. Who was it? No. He knows. Dad, did you hear the question? There's only been a handful of quadruple doubles in the history of the NBA. One of the people that has it is from Akron. Who is it? Nate Thurman.
Nate the
Thurman.
Great. Wow.
Nate Thurman, who went to Central High School in Akron.
Central Howard grad, yep.
So there,
Hakeem Olajuwon had one.
there's a funny story about
David
Nate
Robertson
Thurman.
had one.
Everyone that's probably 45 and older in here will probably remember that. With Nate Thurman, when the Cavs signed him, and they got him, they rolled out a little red carpet out on the tarmac in a helicopter when they.
That wasn't Nate Thurman.
Well,
that
World
was
B.
World B.
Oh, World B. Free,
yeah.
Coliseum
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got the two guys.
No,
mixed
but
up.
that's
World B.
right.
Free.
They rolled out the red carpet.
Yeah.
He
Yes.
came in a helicopter. And also, real quick, Chase, I know you're trying to wrap this up, but I wrote a story about this a little while ago, that the Cavaliers convinced Wilt Chamberlain in 1978 to come back and play for the Cavaliers. He had agreed to come back and play.
Wow.
And he was coming to Cleveland at the age of 41, 42, and they had the contract ready for him. He said, just bring it over to my house and bring it over. And the story goes, they left the contract in his gate. He wasn't home. They left it in the gate in front of his driveway, and it blew all over the yard. And Wilt got home and saw it and said, no, I'm not playing for them. That was sloppy.
Sam,
and that was it.
Wow.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Terry Pluto wrote that story
Yes.
in his book Vintage
In
Cavs.
in
did
his
he not?
book, Vintage Cavs, and we've written it a couple times too. Yep. So
All right, we
there
have
you
time
go.
for two more questions.
Two more.
All
Two
right.
more.
Sam, I got one while you look up
Yeah.
the last one, all right? 1997, second time the All-Star Game was held in Cleveland. Who won the slam dunk competition that year in 1997? Kobe Bryant is correct. Who said Kobe?
Move
Come
man.
on up. We got a winner.
Steve's the winner.
Yeah.
In his rookie year, Kobe Bryant won the All-Star or the slam dunk competition, and Allen Iverson was the MVP in the rookie challenge game that year. So think about that. Kobe and Allen Iverson in Cleveland, rookie year that year, and both won awards like that.
And who was the only Cavs representative on that team?
That
Sean
was-
Kemp.
No, it was Terrell Brandon.
it was
Yes.
No.
Bobby Sura was in the dunk contest. There you go. And he didn't even make a dunk, I think, right? Didn't he miss all his dunks? Yeah, he did. He did.
All right, last one.
Okay, I guess I'll read one from the book that I don't know again. Who is the only player to have a 20-20-20 game, as in 20 points, 20 rebounds, and 20 assists in the same game in their career?
I know.
Wow.
Well, did he? I don't know.
just happened.
This may have been
last year, I
This may
think.
have been before the book was released 3 years ago.
Yeah,
so
Javier,
I'd say
you can get
Russell
something
Westbrook's
else.
a winner. Russell Westbrook counts. Wilt Chamberlain would also have been a correct.
There
All
you
right.
go. Yeah.
Woo! They did. Well, because it just happened. I also.
Here's another one. When is Rajon Rondo, Dr. J, George Washington, and Sam Amico's birthday?
No one remembers.
I hear it. You're coming close. Okay.
February something.
22nd. Yeah.
Chad.
I don't know if that gives you a prize or not, but you know when to buy me a present.
That does it for this very special episode of Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Shouts to the Press Play Podcast Network for making this possible. Shouts to Whitey's for hosting. Give it up for Whitey's!
Thank you.
Yeah!
And if anybody wants this book, let me know. We'll leave it up here on the table for you.
Shouts
Try
to
not to fight over it.
Mobile Eye Repair for sponsoring the show tonight. And thanks to Kenny, Jeremy, Sam, and John. Give it up for our people here on the dais. Yeah! Shouts to Joshua. Thank you so much. Do we all want to do the call out together, or does anyone know how we end every show?
I do not.
I do, because I've been on it for a few years now.
Yeah.
As do I, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think anybody likes doing it but me and you.
I love doing it.
I like to do it.
Okay.
I'm
do you
fine.
want to do it together?
Sure.
All right. Here we go. Mike Breen.
I thought you were going to give me a countdown.
Oh, I'm ready to do it now.
Okay.
I want to go home. I'm
All right,
done
let's
hanging
go.
out with
Let's
you.
go.
All right. Mike Breen, take us out.
Congratulations, Cleveland. Your decades-long wait is finally over. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.